Shalom, friends. Welcome to a new Shear today. We'll be studying the Mesillat Yesharim, the path of the just, written by the Ramchal. I'm Eliyahu Shear from Chesed Ve'emet. My site is www.lovingkindness.co. So this book, Mesillat Yesharim, that we're about to begin, the path of the just, the name itself tells us a great insight into what this book is all about. It was written by the Ramchal, Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto, who lived from 1707 to 1746. For those of you who have listened to my previous Shiurim in Derech Hashem, where I say that he lived until 1747, I must correct myself because I was looking more about the details, and it seems that most people agree that he died, in fact, in 1746, not 1747, as I have said on the previous Shiurim. Anyway, the Ramchal, Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto, was an outstanding Torah student, a great man. As you see from his lifespan, he only lived to be 39 years old. And he was born in Padua, Italy. And he grew up studying Torah. And they say that by the time he was 14, he was already fluent in all of the Talmud, in all of the teachings of the Arizal, Rabbi Yitzhak, Luria, who lived from 1534 to 1572, who is considered the greatest of the, really one of the greatest of the later Kabbalists in more contemporary terms relative to where we are. He is certainly the most prominent Kabbalist who stands out, and he already had mastered these teachings. In fact, his history is not such a happy story, because he lived only 50 years after the famous story of Shabtai Tzvi, the false Mashiach. And because of his great scholarship and his teachings and his ability to teach the secrets of Torah, the rabbis forbid him to continue with the teachings that he was involved in. In fact, the story goes that he revealed to people that he was being taught the Torah by a magid, by an angel. Those people who elevate themselves to these great levels of kedusha, of holiness, can merit such a revelation whereby an angel comes to one and teaches one the secrets of Torah. And because of all of this, they actually told him to stop with his teachings. They put him into excommunication, and basically they gave him, he had no choice. He had to leave the country, and he made his way to Amsterdam. He had to sign on a form that he would not continue with his teachings any longer, to satisfy the rabbis who believed that he was really another Shabtai Tzvi, another person coming in the guise of a false Mashiach to fool the world. He was a danger. But he was not a danger at all. Anyway, he found himself in Amsterdam, where he was involved in cutting lenses and glasses and things like that. Now, while he was there, he continued his learning, he continued his teaching. And the rabbis had said to him, in fact, that when he would get to the age of 40, he could return back to his country and he could continue teaching and so on and so forth. But at that point in time, they had sent him out, and he continued in Amsterdam. The truth is that towards the end of his life, he decided to make a trek and to go back to Eretz Yisrael, to make that his final place of living. And he wanted to involve himself in Torah study in Eretz Yisrael. But it turned out that after arriving shortly thereafter, he and his wife and his child were all killed in a plague. And that was the end of Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto, unfortunately, after having composed poems, after having composed all sorts of scenes of plays. He was involved in poems and poetry. He was involved in much Torah. He wrote many, many books. And today the Ramchal is considered a standard in the works of many areas of Torah. Rabbi Yisrael Salanta was responsible basically for bringing in the Ramchal's book of the Mesillat Yesharim into the Litvish yeshivas. In other words, not the Hasidic yeshivas, but in the Litvish yeshivas, Rabbi Yisrael Salanta, the father of the Mussar movement, brought in that all Litvish yeshivas should be teaching and learning the teachings of the Ramchal. So much did he hold in high regard the teachings of the Ramchal. It is said about the Vilna Gaon, when the Vilna Gaon got access to the Mesillat Yesharim, he took a look over it, and let's just remember that the Vilna Gaon lived from 1720 to 1797, and the Ramchal died in 1746. And so when he got access to this Mesillat Yesharim, he looked over it and he became so overwhelmed with the greatness of this text that he said that were the Ramchal to be alive at that point in time, he would have walked on foot all the way from Vilna to either Italy or to Amsterdam, wherever the Ramchal happened to be, to learn at the feet of the Ramchal. These were the words of the Vilna Gaon, the great teacher. He was the greatest of the teachers, certainly at that point in time, and throughout history could probably be considered the greatest Torah scholar over the past few hundred years. Now, the Mesillat Yesharim is a book that tells us how to work on our behavior traits. Because learning Torah is all very well and good when it comes to keeping Shabbos, keeping kashrut. We learn how to interact with God, what foods are permissible, what we may do on Shabbos, what we may not do, etc., etc. These are all godly mitzvahs. But there's another area of life that many of us neglect, and that is the area of how to behave with each other. We need to know what is the correct behavior under all circumstances in life. What is the way to interact with another person so that my behavior is not out of line? The truth of the matter is, as we're going to see in the introduction, that Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto wrote this book for two reasons. One is to teach us the correct way that we have to behave with other people. And two is to give us a program to reach the highest levels of holiness. Those people who follow the steps of the Mesillat Yesharim can reach levels of acquiring Ruach HaKodesh, divine inspiration, and even to a degree that he could acquire the level that he could even resurrect the dead, as we're going to see in the introduction of the Mesillat Yesharim. With this short introduction, which I've probably said too much already, we're going to make a start by reading the introduction and see where it takes us. Omar HaMechaber, the author, Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto, said the following: Hachibur hazeh, this book that I've written, lo chavartiv lelamed livnei ha'adam, es asher lo yadu. I did not compile this book in order to teach people things that they did not yet know. Ela lahaskiram es hayadua. Rather, I'm coming here to remind them of what is already known lahem, to them, kvar, already. Umefursam, and it is well known etzlam, by them, pirsum gadol, in a great manner. Ki lo timtza barov devarai, you will not find amongst the multitude of words that I'm about to say here, ele devarim sherov b'nei ha'adam yodim otam, except for those things that the majority of people already know them. V'lo mistapkim bahem klal, and they have no doubt about them at all. The Ramchal, in his modesty, points out to us an amazing concept. This entire book that we're about to read contains within it things that we as people already know what to do. The difference between people who know what to do and people who actually do is that the person who pays more attention to what it is that he has to do will be more likely to do those things as he should. But a person, even if he knows the right thing to do, but he lets it go back to the back of his mind, and he doesn't think consciously about what it is that he should do, he will never come to do it. So the Ramchal says, I've written this book to remind people of things that they already know. Ela, however, shekafi rov pirsumam, according to the amount of their knowledge, as their fame, people know exactly what to do, ukeneged ma she'amitatam geluya lakol, and opposite to their truth that is revealed to everybody, kach hahelem mahim, so too is that is hidden away from them. Matsoi ma'od, it's so common, v'hashikha rabah, and it's forgotten to a great degree. In other words, people who know this, just because they know it, they are specific to forget it. Okay, therefore, the benefits that will be generated from reading this book will not come about through reading this book only one time. Because it's already possible that the reader will not find in his intellect chidushim acher kriyaso. He will not find all sorts of new, novel ideas after reading it. Shelo hayubo lifnei kriyato, that he didn't have already before he read it. Which means to say, when a person reads the book once, he will find, strangely enough, that he won't find anything new. He'll say to himself, what has this author done? He has simply written a book of things that I already know about. Ele ma'at. He'll only learn a little bit. The benefit from this book will come about through returning and reading the book again and again, and also from diligently applying oneself over and over again to the advice that he's about to say. The Ramchal is going to tell us some very easy things to do, but it will be up to us to implement those things, to internalize these things, and to actually put them into action. I'd like to tell you a story. When I was in yeshiva, my Gemara Rebbe would give a Mussar Shear once a week in Mesillat Yesharim. And when he would give this Shear, he was filled with a lot of strength. He had a lot of fire with him. And it was amazing to see all the things that he'd come up with of how we can improve our behavior. And I remember on one occasion when I was sitting in the Shear listening, how one of the fellow students was sitting next to me, and he was listening to everything that the rabbi was saying as he taught over the Mesillat Yesharim. And he was talking about how we improve our ways by doing this correctly, by doing that correctly, and so on and so forth. And this fellow immediately puts up his hand. He says, Rabbi, he says, why don't you tell all those people over there what you're telling us here? They are the ones that need to hear this message. So the rabbi said to him, I'm not telling them anything. I'm telling myself what to do. And I'm letting you all listen to the things that I'm telling myself. If they want to listen, they can listen. But the message is for us. We are the ones that have to listen to the story. The problem is, as we embark on this journey in learning what it means to be a better person, you know what goes through our heads? We think to ourselves, all the other people who need to improve their behavior, they need to listen to the Shear. I don't need to listen to it. I already agree to it. Those are the people that need to listen to it. The Ramchal says no. He says that that's exactly the point. When we read this book, we're going to think that there's nothing novel in it. We're going to think this is ordinary. We already know it. But the reality is, the more we read it, the more we pay attention to it, the more we begin to realize that the words that are written here are written for each and every one of us. We are the ones that need to internalize the message and to put it into action. Because these things that we mention become forgotten to people in their nature. V'yasim elibo chovato asher hu mitaleh mimena, and he should put into his heart the obligation that is hidden from him. V'tireh, and you'll see. Im titzbonein b'hoveh b'rov ha'olam. If a person will start to contemplate on the present situation in the majority of the world, he looks at people, ki rov anshe ha'seichel ha'mahir va'pichim, because the majority of intelligent people who are clever and talented, hacharifim, they're sharp, yasimu rov hisbonanam v'histaklutam, they immerse themselves in the majority of their way of thinking and the way that they look out at things, v'takut achochmot, in the very smallest amounts of all parts of wisdom, in the very thin, the very slight parts of wisdom, v'omek ha'iyunam, and the depth of all of their studies. Ish, everybody begins to study, kafi netiyas sichlo, according to the inclination of his intelligence, v'cheshko hativi, and according to the desire of the natural desire that he has. Ki yesh, there are some people, sheyitrechu ma'od b'mechkar habriya v'ateva. There are some people that put a lot of effort into studying and investigating creation and nature. V'acherim, and then there are other people. Yitnu kol iyunam l'techuna u'lahandasa. There are many people that put a lot of effort into the depth of astronomy, mathematics, geometry, and engineering. V'acherim lemelachot. And other people put a lot of effort into studying all sorts of work and whatever it is that they involve themselves in. V'acherim yichnesu yoter el HaKodesh. Now there are some people that put a lot more effort into studying holy things. Zahainu, which means limud haTorah hakadusha, studying the holy Torah. Mayhem, of these people that study the holy Torah, there are people who involve themselves b'pilpulei ha'halachot. They study all of the gymnastics of the laws of the Torah. They study all of the debates of the laws of the Torah. They go into great depth. Rabbi so-and-so says such and such. Rabbi so-and-so says such and such. Which opinion are we going to fulfill? And they spend all day studying all these things. Mayhem b'midrashim. Some people spend a lot of time studying the midrash, all the homiletics of the Torah. Mayhem b'psikei hadinim. And there are some people who will study the actual psak halakha. They want to know exactly what must be done. Do we do this? Don't we do that? May we do this? May we not do that? Is it pure or is it impure? Is it kosher or is it not kosher? People involve themselves in different areas of intelligence, of study, of academics in life. Ach ma'atim yehuyu, but there are very few min hazeh, of all of these people, asher yikba'u iyun v'limud al inyanei shleimus avodah, that they put in a fixed amount of great study in order to study all of the matters of perfecting one's service of God. Al ha'ava, on loving God. Al hayira, on fearing God. Al hadvekus, on cleaving to God. For al kol she'ar chelkei hachasidut, and of all the other sections of piety. Ramchal is telling us there are all sorts of people in the world. Some people are studying medicine. Some people are studying mathematics. Some people are studying law. Then there are people that involve themselves in Torah study. They're studying Chumash. They're studying Gemara. They're studying Psak Halacha. But when it comes down to it, says the Ramchal, there are very, very few people that end up studying how to improve one's service with God, how to love God, how to fear God, and all the other aspects and elements of what it means to be a pious person. Piety is not intellect. One can be pious without being intellectual, and one can be intellectual at least for sure without being pious. We say, it's true that an ignoramus person cannot become a pious person, but still one can involve himself in piety, even though he's not necessarily totally intellectual. And it's not because these things are not essential by them. Because if you were to ask these people, every one of them, Yoimar would say to you, that's the most important thing. You know, it's a funny thing in society. A lot of people, they don't believe in things like religion. They don't believe in Torah. Even many Jews, sadly, they don't believe in Torah. But if you ask them what's important in life, they tell you to be a good person. You must behave right with your fellow man. And you could ask them at that point in time, well, it's very nice to say, but do you actually learn what it is so that you can be right and do the right thing with your fellow person in the world? They'll say to you, no, you just have to be good. What defines good? Nothing defines good. You just have to be good. ושלא ידומה חכם, שיהיה חכם באמת, שלא יספררו אצלו כל הדברים האלה. And nobody can be considered to be a wise person, that he can really be wise, unless, of course, it becomes clear to him all of these things. In other words, until a person starts to realize what love of God is, fear of God is, and how to work on his service of Hashem, in his interactions with other people, his avoida, until then, he will never acquire the true depths of what it means to be this wise person. However, ma shelo yirbu la'ayin alav, but that this person does not occupy himself in it. So this person says, you know, what's really important? Working on yourself with other people, that's so important. But that they lack the devotion to begin to put the effort in to study it. It's because of the great amount of the adverts that goes out. Everybody knows about it, and it's so simple. Itzlam bavim. These people think that they don't need any need to bring out and study this for a long time. If you ask these people that say, you know what, I say it's very important to be a good person and all that. But when you say to them, do you study about what it means to be a good person? Do you study what it means to love creation, love the creator, fear the creator, work on your service of what it means to be that good person? They say, what do I need to learn it for? It's so simple. Everybody knows what it means to be that good person. And it turns out that the study of these things that we're going to learn in this book does not remain, and the reading of these books, hamin, of this type, it only comes to those type of people who are not, that they are of a very dull intelligence, and they're not really so keen to study the subject in any case. And what happens is the subject matter that we'll learn about in the Mesillat Yesharim remains on a shelf somewhere, because people believe that what really counts is to engage in a discussion in the Gemara, or to understand that particular part of halacha, or etc., etc. And they get so involved in it that they never stop themselves to think, what is my real duty in life? What is the real service that I have in order to serve my creator? What's my real duty? I have to improve myself as a human being, improve myself with me to my fellow man, and me to God. And if I don't invest the time necessary, all that I will end up becoming in this world is like a bag of books. And when I die and they bury my body, they'll say he knew Shas and he knew Poiskim and he knew all these things off by heart, just like a bag of books. You could put the bag of books in the grave, it would be exactly the same thing. But what differentiates this type of person that the Ramchal is speaking about is the fact that this person engages in the service of Hashem. He's working on himself. He's working on his love, his fear, and his relationships with other people. We've reached the end of our time for today, so we're going to put a pause on over here and continue next week. I thank you for joining me. If you've enjoyed this shiur, please like my video and click on the like button, on the subscribe button to subscribe to my channel, and the bell button to be notified of future shiurim. In the meantime, please share this shiur. Let me know what you think about it. Be in touch with me. I'd love to be in touch with you, and we can grow together in future shiurim. So I look forward to another shiur. I'm Eliyahu Shear from www.lovingkindness.co, and I hope we'll meet up again soon with further shiurim like this. Wishing you all the best. Bye-bye. Shalom, shalom. Thank you very much for joining. Let's just stop recording here.